Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forge Alliance Forever for a 5v5 played on the MapGen by some absolute pros. It's 93% balance. We have Team 1 in the top side of the map and Team 2 in the bottom side. But before we get to introducing our players, please consider hitting that like button and the subscribe button, as only half of you are subscribed. Joining the Patreon or channel membership is a great way to support the channel. And with my shilling out of the way, let's go ahead and get into introducing our players, starting with Team 1 in the top, and with the southernmost Team 1 player, the purple UEF, going first land by the name of One Punch Man. Moving up to the north of him, we have ourselves a blue UEF, actually cyan, so best color and almost best faction, going first land by the name of Arch Sim Cat. Over to the east, we have ourselves a red UEF, so Team 1 starting strong with 3 UEF players by the name of Wesh, going first land. Then over to his east, we have a yellow Cybran, the first departure from the aforementioned UEF trend for Team 1. He's going first air. His name is First Bomber, so living up to that name, at least with the build order so far. And he is rocking a yellow color. Over to the east of him, we have a purple Cybran, so 3 UEF, 2 Cybran for Team 1, with the name of Blowdeer starting first land. Then down to the south, we can start in the west yet again with the pink Cybran going first land by the name of Hacha Macha, but we're going to call him Yudi because that's easier and that's how I know him. And then over to his east, we have a channel regular, not necessarily in casts, but he's active in the Discord. Speaking of which, join the Discord, link in the description. His name is Grimplex, and he has gone first land. Over to the east of him, we have ourselves a green Aeon best faction going first land by the name of No One Cares. And nobody does care about the Aeon, as the meme I made, balanced team, you know, I'll just flash on the screen. And then not last but not least, we have 2 more players. We have a purple UEF going first land by the name of Yami, and this isn't actually purple, it's like electric blue, as Guile would call it. Up to the northeast, we have the last player who's chosen the worst color and the worst faction. Just overall bad decisions coming out from the Waffle Noob, who has started with a first land factory, the only good decision he's made so far. Now then, we can talk about the map. There is a ton of reclaim here in the middle, 21,000, as we go ahead and speed up the game. And of course here in the middle in particular, about 18,000 on screen, so that's going to be a huge point of contention. Players also have some around their bases. We also have some players who are seemingly in some dedicated air slots. I would say Yami and Arch Simcat probably most likely who we're going to see air out of. And as far as the balance of the map goes, it definitely seems like the players who spawned further away from their teammates, that being One Punch Man and the Waffle Noob, they're going to have a lot of mass extractors, but they're going to have a bit of an issue as they are spawned relatively closer to 2 opponents than they are to their allies who can support them with all these choke points in the way. So they're going to have to really put on some stalwart defenses to be effective in this game. First Bomber living up to his name, as I said earlier, with a First Bomber out. Let's go ahead and track the progress of this Zeus coming out from him. He's coming to smite down the civilian populace, going to be trying to rain lightning down upon these engineers. Gonna start off strong with a single engineer kill. Gonna maybe get a second as he's sort of microing it around, not really getting a second bomb off very quickly. A Ia Issel already on the way for the Waffle Noob. It gets out of the factory, but I think the bomber will have time to run away from this. He's not going to die on that pass. Does get some damage on the power, and another engineer kill, bringing its total kill count up to 2. Let's see if he can manage to squeeze out 4 or 5 engineer kills. That generally is going to feel really good. If you can manage the 4 to 5 engineer kills, you really made this first bomber build work, really slowed down your opponents at the cost of slowing down yourself. But if if he can get damage down onto multiple enemies, that will be worth it. Does hit a mass extractor instead of an engineer here. Gonna drop another bomb and kill off some more units. Is gonna get maybe another engineer. It doesn't manage it, so only 3 engineer kills. Not really ideal, but not a complete waste, as it is, of course, some early damage done to the expansion of these 2 players down here. Over on the western side, One Punch Man already starting to move forward with his comm, going to be starting to grab up these mass extractors, whereas both the comms of Grimplex and Yuri seemingly making their way north towards him, so could be a spicy interaction here in the middle with double comm versus single comm. He is going to have a lot of safe mass extractors. He's going to be able to hold on. I think an early T2 on this map might be the call for these 2 players that I mentioned earlier being in a bit of a contention point. In the middle, it does seem as though there's going to be a lot of contention. There is a ton of mass extractors, and not to mention the reclaim, which is a bunch of fields of Mantis and Blazes and other T1 tanks and Blazes, mostly Blazes. The Blazes are what you want to get out of this, and of course, if either team gets the majority of a majority hold over this area, they're going to have a slight economic advantage as long as they get it early. Of course, we could see the other side of the coin, where players may want to just try and turtle up around the entrances of these areas and focus on the flanks. Gonna have to see how each team wants to address these points of contention on the map. We have a bit of a run-by attempted over here by One Punch Man. Not gonna get very much done, as the response out of Yudi is, of course, to just simply have tanks, because having tanks is good. Mantis clearing up those strikers with no issue. Over on the eastern side, there is going to be an engineer going down for Blodier. He was trying to expand really quickly with engineers, just not going to work out for him, as his comm is also getting close to this area. This is going to be the first area where we're going to see any comm-on-comm action, I would believe, as these comms are very close. But then again, Yudi and One Punch Man in very close proximity of each other. A T1 bomber out from Grimplex, up to 3 kills already. Didn't manage to kill off a mass extractor. Thought he did for a second. Guessing most of this is on engineers, and there is a bit of an air escort from both Grimplex and Yudi, so it's going to be able to get a little bit more damage done than it probably should have at this point. I'm just feeling like Team 1 kind of lacking on the inti count. I don't see a single interceptor on the field for Team 1. The bomber is going to drop a bomb onto Arch Simcat, who's moved his comm forward to grab this kind of 3 max point area. And there's a bit of fighting going on over here between Yudi and One Punch Man as these players continue to throw shots at each other with units. The comms very close, not quite firing at each other, and both of them on the opposite side of their kind of territory. So it could lead to a bit of an interesting engagement here. Yudi going to be taking some fire from some tanks over here. On the eastern side, Zawaffle Noob and Blodier very close to each other, but not quite as much unit concentration on this side. Many more units being built on the western side. We'll have to keep an eye on that on the minimap just to make sure nothing crazy happens. Yudi falling down into the yellow already as One Punch Man is healthy at full HP. Yudi going down to 6,700 HP and falling. He really needs to be careful. He needs to start pulling units forward. He's going to be in a bit of danger here. This could be a very early scalp for Team 1 as One Punch Man is getting a ton of damage down onto that comm. A few overcharges from One Punch Man could also help his units stay alive a bit longer. His units are starting to dissipate a little bit, and Yudi is still low on HP, but he's still willing to try and duke it out with the purple UEF. And One Punch Man going to be getting up a little bit of reclaim, trying to boost his economy a little bit here off of this small T1 fight. And both players are probably going to walk away and lick their wounds. I don't think Yudi wants to sustain combat with a comm under 5,000 HP against one with nearly 12,000. Grimplex over here in this reclaim field, going to be able to suck all of this up. Already has a factory out, is building engineers, getting a radar online. Over on the eastern side, we have a bit of an incursion now coming out from First Bomber, so the Waffle Noob is now in a 2v1 scenario, has a lot of units threatening him. The comm of First Bomber now making its way eastward to try and help kind of deal with the Waffle Noob, and overall it's just going to be a very tough position for the Brown Seraphim here. Luckily, he does have a decent number of units produced. It does seem as though he's keeping on par with his 2 adversaries, and of course, First Bomber was a little bit delayed. The first bomber out of First Bomber didn't particularly give him a major advantage, but it did definitely slow him down. He got all of his mexes out onto the field a bit slower, but he's caught up, and with these pro players being behind a little bit, they know how to come back, they know how to run with a lead. Things are going to happen very quickly, and we're going to miss some stuff, but trying to stay on top of it. In the middle, we have a bit of skirmishing between the comm of No One Cares and the units of Wesh and First Bomber as they continue to struggle over this center area. The comm of Wesh now pushing forward now to try and put pressure onto No One Cares. On the eastern side, the Waffle Noob and Blowdeer in heated combat, but it seems as though the Waffle Noob and the comm of Yami here are just in an advantageous position. I think First Bomber really needs to start coming over here and helping out as Janus come onto the field from Yami to try and deal some major damage to these forces. Janus very good at hitting a lot of grouped up units, going to be able to kill off maybe even an engineer that was trying to build a PD. Going to be difficult for Blowdeer to deal with. Blowdeer still relatively healthy in the comm, so he can start trading shots with the units if he so pleases, but does seem to be in a full retreat mentality. The units out of First Bomber starting to show up to try and help alleviate the pressure being built over here on the western side. On the eastern side, on the western side, we have T2 on the way for Yudi, gun damage and range for One Punch Man, T2 on the way for Grimplexer, and a lot of stuff going on everywhere you look. Yami and Waffle Noob have managed to force back Blowdeer. Blowdeer not going to be able to hold on to these 3 mechs expansion, whereas on the other side, Yudi managing to hold it with ease. And Grimplex now up to T2 land and a ton of assistance on this factory, meaning we're going to see pillars coming out in mass. Arch Simcat going with the strategy of building a whole bunch of walls. He is doing the Trump, and it's going to be very useful for him. Seems as though there were various run-bys or maybe some air harassment out from Team 2. Manages to kill off a T1 mechs and some stuff over here, and also had some units in the background. Going to be cleaned up by some bombers. Over in the middle, we now have T2 on the way for No One Cares. 3 T2 upgrades going on simultaneously for Team 2. Grimplex finishes his first. Yudi going to finish momentarily. Damage and range only at 70%, give or take, for One Punch Man, so he's going to be a little bit behind Yudi. If Yudi is able to throw up a few T2 PD, it's going to really stifle his progress as Yudi pushes forward with all of his units over here on the eastern side. Damage and range on, or no, speed and range on the way for First Bomber, but there is no way that finishes if the Waffle Noob does not want it to finish. He's getting speed and range himself, but he could just throw some artillery on this and it can force First Bomber to stop. Does he have intel over that? Let's go ahead and see. He does know what's happening. You can tell that this is a comm upgrade. He does select all of his Zooies and tells them to fire on First Bomber. Even at 50% as First Bomber is now, not going to be enough. T2 also finishing up, or it's halfway done for Wesh. Selecting that vision kind of screwed me on seeing how upgrades are doing. T2 finished up for Grimplex and Yudi on the western side, and gun damage and range finishing up momentarily for One Punch Man. Over here on the eastern side, as I said, First Bomber forced to cancel that upgrade. Very unfortunate for him. Damage and range finishes up for One Punch Man, and a huge run-by attempt seeming to come through here. It seems as though the walls don't quite keep out all the units. They're going to be bottlenecked for a bit, but if Grimplex and Yudi can get through here, especially with some pillars showing up, they can really put some pressure down on to Arch Simcat, and I'm sure Arch Simcat really does not want to deal with all of this, and One Punch Man's kind of faltering over here on the western side, whereas the Waffle Noob and Yami doing very well on the eastern side to hold off the aggression out from both Blowdeer and First Bomber. As we take a second to look at the economies of these teams, Team 2 up 20 to 30 mass a second, or no, it's more like 10 to 20 mass a second, which is not a huge leap from anything. Team 2 also up on reclaim, so overall, the teams, though, very close and even to each other. This little forward base for Arch Simcat seemingly slated to die. There are a couple of T1 PD, so maybe it's better for Grimplex and Yudi to try and push northwards, but PD are being thrown up constantly by Arch Simcat, and that's going to lead to a very difficult push for both Yudi and Grimplex. Over here on the eastern side, speed and range finished up for the Waffle Noob. Do we have any other upgrades? Stealth on the way for Blodier, as well as he has gun, speed, and range finished up. He has stealth done as well, so he's going to have a very sneaky comm. We don't have any upgrades on First Bomber. Wesh has his T2 completed as well as No One Cares. A large battle taking place over here on the territory of One Punch Man and Arch Simcat. It seems as though One Punch Man just doesn't have the units to compete here. Wesh does show up with some units to try and help, but he's using strikers against pillars, and pillars just win. There's 4 pillars mixed in here, and they're going to do a lot of work as Yudi just has this massive bulk of Mantis to be thrown at his opponents. He's going to be able to throw it right into the main base of One Punch Man. Is that going to be significant enough to really garner a major advantage for Team 2? We'll have to see. But the question, as always, is going to be at what cost? If this fails, if this does not deal critical damage, this is going to be an absolutely colossal mass dump this early into the game. All of these units right next to your factories. It is the dream of somebody who is reclaim focused. But if you lose all your factories, it really sucks. So gonna have to see if this damage is focused anywhere. A T2 mech's about to go down. Would love to see a little bit of focus out of either Grimplex or Yudi to make sure this goes down. This force is never gonna kill off everything here. Your goal is to get economic damage where you can. Would love to see the pillars stop and just try and fire onto mass extractors. One T1 mech's gonna go down. Janus out for Arch Simcat, dealing both friendly and enemy damage as he is dropping these fire bombs on the base of One Punch Man. That bomb seemingly targeted onto One Punch Man himself. And of course, friendly fire does exist with Janus, so this is going to be a really kind of double-edged sword defense out from Arch Simcat, as he's both killing off all of the units that he can, but dealing damage to One Punch Man, who has managed to lose two T2 mexes in this engagement, and he's down to a very low HP count. On the eastern side, we have the Waffle Noob and Yami, both going to be forced back by First Bomber and Blodier's combined gun comm action. One Punch Man going down very low on HP, but I don't think he's going to die to this. I think that this attack is going to be cleaned up just in time. He's down to 2,000 HP and falling. Over here to the east, the Waffle Noob and First Bomber getting into an engagement, but a Continental Mech Marine Ghetto gunship is going to lead to the death of the Waffle Noob. He does not have a way to deal with this, and this is going to be a very, very quick death for him. All of these units are going to be piled on top of First Bomber. Could we see a double comm kill here? That's a ton of damage going into both comms. Both comms pull into the red. Both comms are going to die here as a draw happens over here on the eastern side between the Waffle Noob and First Bomber, and One Punch Man critically low on HP. If he can manage to survive, that'll be great, but even if he does, what is really left for him to do? He dies via Control K, and that's going to be an absolutely brutal situation. Continental Mech Marines out from Wesh. The memes are no longer dreams. Let your memes be real. And that Continental Mech Marine was very real, and Waffle Noob felt it as No One Care inherits the base of Waffle Noob, and Arch Simcat inherits the base of One Punch Man. Of course, I'm sure if you had to choose between these two players, you'd rather be No One Cares, because he still kind of has a base, whereas One Punch Man's base is a couple of factories, a T1 mechs, and some power spam. It's going to be very difficult for Arch Simcat to retake this area, as of course Gunthers have now been set up by Yudi, and he is now going to set up a tactical missile launcher. This is just brutal standoff tactics going on right here in the beginning of the game. And of course Yudi can always push up with the T2 PD creep. There is nothing here to stop him. Grimplex, meanwhile, at T3 land already. We're having Percivals come out onto the field, whereas Blodier on the other side sitting at T2 or T3 himself and bringing out some loyalists. He's gotten 2 bases. How has that affected the economies of the game? Well, No One Cares on the strongest economy in the game at the moment at 277. Overall, the Team 2 ahead, as to be expected, as they've basically lost an entire player and their entire base. The base has been transferred over to Wesh. Wesh might... I don't know what Wesh needs to do to defend this, but he's going to have to come up with something, as tactical missile launches are about to be being produced by Yudi. I don't know if he has any TMD queued up yet, but we could see a couple of T2 mexes going down in quick succession. That's a lot of assistance on a tactical missile launcher. Gonna go ahead and fire out to the west. If he gets these 3 massive tractors, could be huge. On the eastern side, there is some T3 air engagements between the ASF of Arch Simcat and some broadswords produced by Yami, trying to deal with Blodier. Not quite going to be able to get any sustained damage there, and that's just going to lead to an air advantage for Team 1. Arch Simcat just has all of the ASF on the map, it would seem. There's 1 or 2 ASF kicking around for Team 2, but Team 1 has about 20, maybe 25 on the field from Arch Simcat himself. In fact, we can check. He's already up to 24. Look at how good I am at looking at things and counting. I'm so good at counting. Oh, man. If there was a counting Olympics, I'd be the counter of it. I'd be the count of the Count Olympics. Over here to the east, the Loyalists poising to deal damage. There's really no T3 response. I guess T3 has been achieved now on this Seraphim base, and Sniper Bot's going to be going up, but there's so many Loyalists already produced, it just seems like it's going to be hard for this flank to be held. Although Yami getting gun T2 and almost in about halfway done on shield could really provide some great support here, really just take out these Loyalists with overcharge after overcharge. Does need to be careful, but not the end of the world by any means for Blodier, as of course having that T3 advantage and so much of it is great. A run by Wesh is going to be getting a few kills onto massive tractors that were upgrading. It didn't seem as though they were very far in their upgrade lifespan, as Yuri has managed to get a lot of eco underneath his or not Yuri, Yami. It's weird to see somebody at 17 minutes over 100 mass a second and they are the poorest person in this game. And sub 20 minutes and we have people over 300 mass a second. No one cares, in Blodier absolutely running away economically this game. Yuri doing pretty solid for himself, about to press 200. Grimplex doing okay for himself as well. Wesh, Arch Simcat, and Yami are really struggling economically, as Percivals that we saw producing earlier from Grimplex are starting to make their way northwards and forwards towards the base of Arch Simcat. But it's not going to do well. There's a lot of triads going up. There's some Ravagers. There's some Clink Hammers. It's just not a winning battle to try and push this position with this number of units that Grimplex has. Over here in the center, a large shift of units. Blodier is now sending all of his Loyalists. Let's just go ahead and check the value of this army. We have an army worth around 17,000 mass, including 18 Loyalists, forcing its way to the west towards No One Cares Firebase. And this Firebase just isn't enough. If Blodier sees this, he can get a very early scalp. Of course, the question is, does he want to get the scalp? And I think when everybody in the game is at least 1900 rated and higher, you do have to you have to say it's worth it, because they're not going to have a substantial amount more APM than Blodier or Wesh or Arch Simcat. Whenever everybody's on the same level, taking out players is generally a good idea. So here we go. The Loyalists making their way underneath the shield of No One Cares. Going to be able to focus down the T3 shield generator if he so pleases. And even without that, you could do a bunch of the charges onto Blodier's comm, or onto No One Cares comm. And No One Cares capitulates. He waits for Loyalists to get in range and decides to control K. As a Continental drop with Titans is going to be dropped in the backline. No One Cares units are all about to lose their orders. So this could be a very dangerous drop. He's going to be able to drop. I think the ASFs aren't going to get here in time. Oh, they do get here in time. The Continental falls, killing off one of the Titans, and the Titans are going to be able to get in here to the back line and maybe deal some minor damage. Now we're looking at Yami controlling 3 bases, and that's going to put Yami over 500 mass a second before the 20-minute mark. Blodier with 2 bases is very, very close to him and has currently built up a very dangerous army of 25 Loyalists. We just saw how much damage 18 did. Grimplex trying to patch up the holes in this very, very leaky ship with his Percivals in the middle. He's going to maybe be able to flank around the north side here as the T1 units absorb damage. He really needs to get working with something over here. He needs to help out the eastern side, because while the western side has gone amazingly for Team 2, the eastern side is leaving something to be desired as they are dropping like flies. Yami does come over with the gun comm. It's going to be able to hold off all of this. There's only a couple of loyalists left. The rest of this is T1 and the occasional T2 unit. So it's going to be cleaned up pretty succinctly by Team 2. Don't know if I used succinctly correct there, but large words, vocabulary. I was so so this is a tangent, but whenever I said annals of history on a recent cast and somebody was like, everybody who felt attacked because I said calling out all the English majors who regret their degree, yeah, that made me laugh. But two, the fact that I used annals of history correctly was, I felt good about that one, okay? I sound sophisticated. All right. the narcissism, it's coming out. Over here to the east, we have some skirmishing going on. The sniper bot's gonna get huge value as long as they're microed properly, but Yumi is gonna be in a very difficult position to do so. Having 3 bases is great economically, although it does really tax your APM. I think that generally what I see higher rated players do... Oh! That's a donut. That is a very good way to deal with an army filled with loyalists. That donut comes online, that's going to be a very good defensive option. Though, can he defend against the air? He has 21 ASF himself, whereas Simcat has 17, and Wesh, who also has a decent number, has 19. Does Grimplex have any? Grimplex has 4. So, overall, the ASF, they're not enough to one-pass, and if they do engage in a full-on fight with a Tsar on this side of the map, it's guaranteed loss, and these players know that. They're not going to make bad decisions. So if Blodier does decide to attack right now, it's going to be very brutal for him, because this Tsar is going up relatively quickly. He might get some damage done, but going to have to keep an eye on all of this. There's, of course, also the T3 army, which is going to severely slow down the Loyalist spam. Loyalists, not known for their ability to fight off the more assault and mainline use case T3 land units. Very much so used for that raiding purpose. Grimplex in the middle has managed to clear up a fire base built up by Wesh. And there's a bunch of Percivals sitting over here that are going to be able to fight this off. Bricks and Percivals alike for Grimplex and Yudi going to be set up over here. This missile launcher only managing to get 1,000 mass killed. Gonna feel a little bit bad. It's fully loaded with 4 missiles. He's invested a lot into that. At a certain point, you really just kind of gotta control K and reclaim it, because that's the only thing you're really getting back out of it. I guess although he could be just saving it until one of these attacks kills off some TML or TMD, and then just launch a barrage of 4 TML to get some really sustained damage going on. That Tsar now up to 90%, and Blodier posturing. He could be attacking very soon. The micro still going really well for Yami. He's not really slipping on it. He hasn't been losing sniper bots in mass. Sniper bots, probably the hardest units for sniper bots to deal with are going to be things like the Titans and the Loyalists. Kind of counterintuitively, the speed of the Titans and the Loyalists makes it harder to do the sniper micro, because you can't reliably outspeed your opponent's units. And Blodier is committing to a full-on attack right as the Tsar finishes. This is going to be brutal for Blodier. He's going to dump so much mass. And on top of that, I don't think he has enough Loyalists to just deal with this. Or maybe he does. He's really going for a run by, it seems. So this is pretty categorically kind of a mistake, but it's a mistake that I would have made. Let's be honest, I wouldn't have been in this situation. I get the double base, and I'm still sitting there at 200 economy instead of 810 mass a second at 23 minutes. Oh. Is he going for artillery? This is an artillery template if ever I've seen one. This is not a this is definitely not the template you build for air grids. You don't care about your air grid being that protected. So yeah, I'm calling artillery there, and if I'm wrong, you can make fun of me. As here, the loyalists have been cleaned up, gonna be giving 6.1 thousand mass killed towards the veterancy of that Tsar, and I mean, I would say it's a colossal mass field, but it takes Blodier a grand total of like 8 seconds to make all of this. So it's starting to get to that point where reclaim, it's still majorly important, but with the economies these players have, reclaim isn't going to decide the game for the players with the most economy. Speaking of economy, Blodier, Yami are the only two players cresting 700, and Blodier cresting 800. 466 for Yudi, who is on a single base, so admittedly Yudi on a huge economy for his position. Wesh at 330, also doing well for himself. Grimplex at 311. Arch Simcat, the most poor person in the game, has 302 mass a second. The poorest person in the game is at the range where they could reasonably build a Maver, not quickly, but in the course of like 10 to 15 minutes, they could build a Maver if they felt like it. They would it'd be a bad idea. Blodier and Yami are at the point of building a Maver and it being a good idea. And yep, I called it. Artillery. This is going to be a very dangerous proposition for Team 2. I don't know if Yami is going to be able to respond with anything similar. Yami still, I think Yami is not quite at the point of caring about standoff technology. And we also need to start looking for anti-nukes, because this is the point where if somebody's going to spam artillery, they're going to build a nuke. Because that's the most effective way to deal with somebody. Use the standoff tactic. Ooh, a large assault coming up from Grimplex. And I don't even need to mention his name, but it's Yudi. I forgot for a second. Yudi going to lose like 4 bricks, and Grimplex, you're not going to be able to force this through. There's triads going up. There's T1 PD going up. Yeah, no, this is a bad assault from Grimplex. The shield's going to let the Percivals of Wesh hold on a little bit longer. And then there's all these structures to absorb damage. Anytime the Percivals aren't shooting other Percivals, or anytime a Percival misses, it really hurts. I don't think this is going to go through as well as he would have hoped. The Triads are definitely going to deal a lot of damage. They're going to soak damage too. And there are now broadswords coming on the field to help with this. The Tsar going to be pushing forward to this forward production facility, which has T3 mexes for Blodier, because he's just balling, and even the forward mexes need to be the most efficient versions of themselves. Going to be able to pick up a couple of T3 mexes here. And the air forces of both Grimplex and Yami going to be able to keep this safe. The experimental aircraft carrier of the Aeon, such a beautiful, beautiful unit, is going to fall back now. That shield upgrade on the Tsar, making it much better, in my opinion. That was a few patches ago, but having a shield on the Tsar, by a few I mean like at this point probably years that it's had it. At this point, the shield on the Tsar, very nice to have. Is nice to have that regen. Is it not regenerating? Why is the shield not regenerating? Is this a bug? It's been out of combat more than long enough to regenerate, right? I'm not going crazy. Should be at 180 shield regeneration a second, but stuck at 1945-2. Or 19,452 is if you're a freaking human and not over here like Zuckerberg, Robot Man. And we have a bit of a reprieve. We haven't really had any moment where these players aren't just duking it out. Overall economies, Team 1 ahead by 500 mass, between 500 and 300 mass a second as the teams fluctuate. Now they're dead even. Reclaim 49,000 for Yami, and there's over 100,000 on the map. Oh my word. Wesh gonna get a ton. As the Tsar went forward, I just wasn't expecting that kind of play. The Tsar went forward, and I'm guessing was one passed by Arch Simcat, who also wins the air fight. So that's a huge mass dump, and Wesh gonna be a happy recipient, I am sure. Could start seeing some crazy things. Megalith now on the way for Wesh, and another one queued up. Gonna be building Megalith out the wazoo, which is a decent way to deal with T3 assault bots, or armored assault bots as they are. All of them are armored assault bots. On the eastern side, a Monkey Lord in conjunction with a bunch of loyalists is going to be sieging this position, once held long ago by Zawaffle Noob, but for a long time has been in the hands of Yami. And there's not much here to stop him. An emissary now on the way for Yami, and at about high 30% HP. The first disruptor has finished for Blodier, and the second one is already nearing 40%. It's up to 35%. The Monkey Lord decides better of it. Not sure why. I'm guessing he's afraid of some kind of air incursion, but they just want air. I think you push forward with this. What intel does he have that is scaring him away? Is it this army? Yeah, the Monkey Lord makes up for this army, even though you have a bunch of loyalists. Is it all the PD? Maybe. I would be pushing forward here, but Blodier has decided better of it, and who am I to judge his decisions, as he is much better than me. Wesh has relocated his comm to the base of Blodier, and Blodier is now going to continue his artillery spam. He has 2 artilleries building at any given time, it would seem, and the second artillery on the way now. Gonna have to see how these first few shots land and what they achieve. Gonna be focused down onto Yami's position. There are 3 artillery on the way for Yudi, who is... these players both subscribing to the artillery shotgun school of artillery, where it's... well, they may not be accurate, and they may not, they may take a while, but if I build a bunch of them and they shoot like a shotgun spread, very much so worth it. The Scathis being the epitome of shotgun artillery philosophy in today's future modern combat. And yeah, T3 Mass Extractor is probably going to be going down to artillery momentarily. The second artillery going to be finishing up momentarily for Blodier, who is at nearly 1k mass a second. Yami also approaching that, but he's going to be losing the war now. He doesn't have his own artillery online. He has an emissary, 50% complete and rising, actually 62% complete and rising. He's going to start losing the air grid. That's what's being targeted, and air has already been kind of a sore spot for Team 2 ever since that Tsar went down and they lost that huge air fight. Grimplex not quite able to make it work. Over the SAMs, just gonna be a difficult situation. Over here on the western side, seems as though a bunch of artillery spam coming out from Arch Simcat. This area has been a little bit, it's been back and forth, but nobody's really gained or lost territory. Some of these mexes have been built by both players on both sides, back and forth, over and over. The second artillery is on the way. The third artillery, I want to remind you, we are at +0. We are not sped up. This is just how fast Blodier is building artillery. The third artillery up to 50% as the second and first continue to fire onto Wesh's position. Wesh working on that emissary. It's going to finish up relatively soon. The first disruptor for Yudi going to be done momentarily as it crests 90% and continues forward in its construction. He's going to finish 1 T3 artillery. Team 2 is going to finish 1 T3 artillery by the time Blodier has finished almost 3. Blodier is a monster right now, economically. And he is going to make Team 2 feel his wrath as the air grid already starting to suffer casualties. A T3 air factory going down, a T3 power generator not long for this world at 1600 HP, and I think a shell could arc high enough to get damage done onto it. He's spamming up shields, but it's just, it feels like a losing battle already because you need so many shields, and eventually Blodier will hit that critical mass of artillery where you cannot out-shield it. Now there is a third artillery online, a fourth started up, the template is continuing to expand forward for the 5th artillery position, and I'm sure 6th will come soon. Another artillery about to finish up for Yudi. Yudi and Blodier both deciding to go after those players I highlighted as air players in the beginning of the game. Such a seemingly long time ago, but only half an hour has elapsed, as both teams are nearing 2 million mass generated this game. Reclaim numbers are looking good. Apologies for that pause, everybody. Something got my attention. We're gonna get back to this. But these air players gonna be taking a lot of damage, and it's gonna be difficult. Very, very difficult for them to deal with. I do believe that ArchSimCat is in a better position, as he has managed to build up much more shielding than Yami had beforehand. Wesh pushing in the middle with Megalith, and it's gonna start getting a bit dicey for Grimplex and Yudi. These Megalith are gonna be able to push forward. There's a anti-nuke very far forward for Grimplex, and that's dicey. He needs to get up either Ravagers or artillery relatively soon, because it seems as though they do not have enough to assail double Megalith with Percival support, in my opinion. On the southern side, 2nd artillery done for Yudi, as 4th artillery on the way for Blodier. He's building them about twice as fast as Yudi can. There was an emissary on the way. It's about to finish, only has 1 shield generator. The second that starts firing, or the second that Blodier decides that it needs to die, it dies. He needs shielding before he even finishes it, and it's just a very difficult battle to fight. The air grid for Yami going to be producing its last ASF momentarily. As this ASF leaves the conveyor belt, that's the last one that's going to be built. He's lost the HQ, and he is no longer able to produce ASF. Luckily, Grimplex picking up the slack, building a bunch of T1 bombers to help deal with the Megalith, and trying to get some Percivals to come in for a flanking maneuver, but 2 Megalith is gonna be a problem, and once he manages to get some flak or T3AA over here, the T1 bombers aren't gonna cut it. Of course, ArchSimCat could come forward and help defend this. Pauses going on by various players. The emissary is maybe going to finish. Yami is still on a strong economy. He's still up around 800 mass a second, but Yudi has taken over the economic advantage here, as a bunch of the mass extractors for Yami transferred to Yudi, who is now spamming out artillery. He's going for his 4th artillery, going for that horrible mistake of going for Seraphim technology. The shielding, though, might be nice. You have to admit the Seraphim's got shielding down pretty well. The double Megalith in the middle, gonna encounter some Ravagers, but not nearly enough, and they're not shielded. So these Megalith gonna push forward. The artillery shotgun, ever present, as we can look at the mini-map and see it's retargeting on to the emissary's position. And before I even, by the time I noticed the artillery had retargeted, the artillery was dead. So emissary gone and down for the count. 4 artillery finished, a 5th on the way, a 6th will follow that quickly afterwards, and Blodier is winning the artillery race. He's already about to be on 5, he's going to be on 6, he's going to continue into the foreseeable future as far as I can tell. Wesh is taking artillery fire now via Yudi's artillery. A nuke has been launched, and it's going to be going for the forward. Why is it going for the forward base? It could go for the air base. I guess maybe he wants to help this this land attack go further forward. I don't understand. I would love if Wesh watches this. I don't know if Wesh watches my channel. Give me the logic behind nuking this, or was this just a oh shit, I targeted onto their anti-nuke and forgot about it kind of situation. Over here to the northeast, there is another artillery going online. Yami still sitting on a huge economy, but just seems as though he doesn't have the build power or the protected area to deal with it. One thing I'm going to point out here is Blodier is sitting on how many shields? He has 1 T2 shield and 13 ED2s, which are only 1 upgrade. He's going to want to get more upgrades on these shields very quickly. His opponent now has artillery fire, and it's 4 artillery. It's going to be difficult to shield against this, and this is a very volatile setup. He needs to make sure his shielding is on point right now as the artillery shells start to fly in from his opposition. There's also a satellite apparently on the field. There is a Novex on the way to help deal with Beauty. Wesh, his comm is in the middle of this shielding power grid. That could be dangerous. With this taking all this fire, if this goes up, Wesh dies. Almost assuredly Wesh dies if this explodes. And it seems as though the shielding is starting to falter. I'd like to see, I don't know, maybe you use hives to try and cover up your issue. You have so many hives built up here. Just start assisting the shielding with hives. He's just desperately trying to build more shielding. They're both trading fire with each other. Man, that could be an amazing thumbnail, but so could the artillery template built up by Blodier. And the artillery shells are landing through the shield. One of the building artillery has gone down, but all of the artillery and their subsequent power generators are still online. Wesh, nearly dead, 3,000 HP, and another shell comes in. The artillery grid goes down, and so does Wesh. Blodier taking decent damage, but wasn't quite in the middle of the artillery, and is that game? Yudi in a similar position though. The artillery combined fire, it's martyrdom coming out from Blodier, but does he manage it? Is there more shells coming in? There are more shells coming in, but the shields flick back online. And Yudi, with these Seraphim shields, manages to keep 2 of his artillery online, a third about to finish up. Whereas Blodier has lost everything, and the devastation of that is going to be so difficult to come back from. Wesh died. Blodier got another base. Blodier sitting on 1.7 thousand mass a second. The team 1 is still ahead economically. Mass Scathis could be an option. It's one of the few ways with Cybran that you can easily shield up. You can build just a straight square grid of shields and move the Scathis inside it, as it does not need that power adjacency that the T3 artillery so unfortunately do need. The forward base was nuked, and now Blodier using this army that Wesh had built up to move forward. The megaliths over here, it seems as though there's a megalith battle between Yudi and Wesh, or Yudi and Blodier, but there's a megalith bearing down on the position of Yudi's base. Although Yudi does finish his own megalith, he doesn't really have the land forces to assist it, whereas Blodier does have a decent land force behind this and more always showing up. The megalith does have 3 ranks of veterancy, so it is getting a lot of HP regen, and it will have about the same HP and maybe more with this first megalith fight. But the second megalith is going to finish up very quickly, and if he can build megaliths this quickly, it's just a matter of kill off the enemy megalith and then spam up some PD to deal with the T3 army. I think Yudi holds here, as we have beautiful cinematic shots going on. Megalith on megalith violence. You hate to see it. It's like a train crash. It's just horrible, but you can't look away as these megaliths will murder each other. Blodier's base, or Blodier's unit's going to fail. Awasa comes in, and Blodier's attack runs out of steam as the artillery now focuses down onto Arch Simcat. Is there a hope for the northern team left? There's a Scathis on the way, a ton of shielding spammed up beside it. The Scathis up to 17% and rising. The artillery refocused onto Arch Simcat, who has admittedly fared pretty well despite being shelled for a long time, but his shielding goes down as he has power struggles. Do any of the shells get through? No, the shielding flicks back online in the perfect time, but no! Multiple shields going down, 4 shields going down. Every time that happens, it becomes untenable to hold this. He needs to fix his power issues immediately. The Scathis now up to 40% and rising. It's going to be built quickly. Is there a chance for Team 1 to come back into it? Losing that artillery grid was... it's hard to understate how brutal it was for Team 1. I think maybe with some better targeting, although I doubt they had perfect information, they could have really gotten a bit more out of that artillery grid. I think focusing down Yudi's artillery is a top priority once it starts firing. This is all, though, whataboutism and should have, could have, would have. We're here to look at what these players have and will do. And I am starting to struggle to see a world where Blodier can carry his team to victory. The first Scath is coming online, the second one already queued up. The moment this Scathis fires one volley, because I'm sure that Yudi, they probably think this is another, they may know it's a Scathis. I'm sure there's some scouting, but the moment this Scathis begins firing is the moment that all of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artillery of Yudi switch targeting immediately. The Scathis fires its first volley, going to be launched with extreme hostility towards the base of Yudi, the true artillery shotgun of the game. Such an awesome unit to watch fire, as its shells all fall around about the same time. Minor variances, but a large payload being delivered. The shield's going to struggle with it, although there's hives, and hives definitely make shielding a lot easier as long as you have the APM and micro to make it work. Blodier builds a megalith over here on the eastern side, and the artillery, as expected, has immediately shifted on to firing at Blodier's position. We also, of course, have... oh man. I wonder if that's horrible to watch on YouTube. We also have Awasa on the field, and one thing that high-rated players love to do with Awasas is wreck bomb. And wreck bombing this Scathis would be brutal. I think that's why Arch Simcat is keeping all of his ASF right here. Arch Simcat needs to protect this Scathis. But Arch Simcat can't even protect himself. The fire base is going to be but a speed bump, or more like a speed pebble, in the way of this double megalith mass T3 Loyalist army. The Ravagers are nice, but they don't produce enough damage to deal with this. GC now bearing down along with a chicken towards the position of Blodier. Where is the Awasa? It's always good to keep tabs on where it is. It's over here. Yami has been in the game so long. We will just track the Awasa for a little bit while we commentate on stuff from the orbital view. This attack... you know what? We can get a cinematic shot. I'm a sucker for a cinematic shot. The megalith pushing forward and going to bear down on this position. A Fat Boy was near completion not so long ago, but I think it died to artillery. The Awasa is coming in. What is it used for? It's going to bomb the land army. The good news is, since this is Yami's Awasa, there's going to be no friendly fire. He even positions it in a way where it doesn't hit his own units, though. I believe that you cannot commit friendly fire against your own units. The Loyalists used for their stunning effect the Megalith trying to kill off the chicken. If the chicken goes down and deals a decent amount of damage to the GC, could be huge. The first Scathis, continuing to fire, was not able to pierce the shields, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 artillery online for Yudi. And is this going to be it? Is this gonna be the game-ending play? Is this the Awasa? It dropped the bomb, it control K'd. The Scathis may not die. No, the Scathis doesn't die, but the shielding goes down, and the sustained artillery fire that's coming out from Yudi almost guarantees this position. Blodir agrees and control K's. Arch Simcat running away for dear life from Megalith is going to be in a sad position. One Megalith does go down. I would not be surprised to see the Arch Simcat control K. Yep, and that's going to be game. Thank you all for watching. You all have been beautiful. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you to the patrons and the channel member. If you want to support the channel more, please check out the Discord, the channel memberships, and the Patreons. And I will see you in the next one.